protected her tweets. I recognized her tweets.
And then you got rid of her, or she left. Yeah.
No, she left. I didn't kick her out. There's a lot of people that I don't let speak who I let be in my spaces.
Ah. Belfast were one of the privileged few. Fanny. Bookish. Goodness me. Googly.
No, and you don't know what I've been through with the different people on here. And
I am teasing you, Jasmel.
I know you are, but I can tell you, I have significant reasons.
Now, we're trying to be diplomatic there, and I appreciate that, Jasmine.
Yeah, because everybody's personal business shouldn't have to be spread to everybody, and we're allowed to have disagreements on who we want in our spaces when we hold them. It's okay.
Guys, just an idea. Now I've been talking quite a while about having sort of basic spaces. And so I was kind of thinking that if we do something like the reading of the Denton documents and then having a discussion, or the reading of the cast review and having a discussion, what would you be up for something like that?
Well, I'd totally be up for the reading of the cast review and the Denton documents, absolutely.
And then Yoga Heart, the principal.
Yes.
And I think maybe if we start doing dedicated spaces, because I'm fed up talking about these people or talking about anybody else other than the actual subjects that we should be talking about. I appreciate those kind of spaces. And to be honest with you, I'm getting just bored talking about,
I agree.
Whoever it is recording us, because we're all quite knowledgeable, and I do think that, we know who knows what a lot of the time, and it would give an opportunity for new listeners just to sit and listen to these things, because there's spaces going on, but it seems to be, this is what I think, and this is what I think, and this is what I think, and if we are reading things like the legislations that are going through the Denton's document, those basic spaces. So we need to work out sort of timings, what would be a good time so that people can tune in all over, because there's so many of you guys in here that I'd appreciate your comment on those things.
And I'd actually quite happily do that, and maybe Isla Mack mentioned a friend of hers who's has a mental health background, which would also be quite interesting to give a bit more detail on some of the diagnosis and explain it a bit more officially what it means, and then put it into plain English for everyone that doesn't understand.
Now, I know Admiral did one ages and ages ago, and also FactFem did a space long time ago. But to bring it back to those kind of subjects, I think it's important, because there's an awful lot of new people coming in, and you mentioned you're sitting having a chat and going, oh yeah, well, according to the Denton documents, and maybe somebody who's only just in this 6 months is going, what? And then maybe talking about the medical issues, talking about the appropriation of people with DSDs.
Can I also suggest something I think would be useful for a focused discussion? Well, I think it would be useful because it has an international significance. Is the reclassification under the classification of disease index of transgenderism from the mental health classification to the sexual health classification?
Absolutely. DSM.
I think that WHO reclassification, a sort of what did this mean when it was classified under mental health, and what does this mean now that it's declassified and it's under sexual health? Kind of explainers from a legal perspective, I don't mean somebody needs to know from an international law perspective, but how that impacts the legislation in different jurisdictions as that guidance changes. So it's that segue, that subtle segue from sort of a medical model to a not medical model. Yet within that, they still there's a requirement for healthcare to be prioritized. Just something around that, I think, would be useful.
I think that's a brilliant idea, Bridal. It's on the list.
Because I suppose I'm thinking that, obviously the big push is to move away from the medical model to the self-ID, which Ireland was one of the first ones to be duped and caught by that after just Argentina and Malta. But that certainly is what the agenda is to completely park the medical model and have no gatekeeping whatsoever. And just have self-ID. So I think the WHO one would be useful. Thanks, Belfast.
Yeah, they actually do. Sorry,
Oh,
Belfast.
sorry.
I was going to say the WHO actually do spaces. They actually get themselves involved in spaces, and they do it on different topics, which is kind of interesting actually. And they have guest speakers. I've kind of gone in, and they're actually really, really informative. And sometimes they let people speak. So maybe next time I'm popping in, I'll ask to speak.
If we can record and publish our dedicated spaces, and people know that that's going to happen, I think we could, switch up the ante a wee bit.
I've got a question. What do you do when a gay guy just loves how much big dick energy you actually have got, even though you're not a guy? Like, I've got that problem. I think that Mike guy just fancies the shit out of me. Wonder if anyone just has any pointers, because
Wow, that changes the tone of this room.
well, I didn't know. It says coffee with friends, and I'm waking up. I haven't even had this dirty coffee yet. Sorry if it's not. I can go and make my own space, Jasmine, if you want. I've got no idea. Either way,
And do we know this guy? Is this an account we know?
I don't even know who the fuck it is either. But man's gay, and man just loves hotting me up. Like, not being funny, but he could just fucking pay for it.
Does anybody else want to come up and speak?
Yeah, because no one likes my dick stories.
Well, no, I just can't help you. I already blocked that guy, and domestic TM and Mike have so many alternates
I don't need any help though. I don't need
that you can't possibly block them fast enough. Like,
Oh,
there'll
yeah, I
always
know.
be another one.
I know they're just little fucking trolls, but I've spent half my life fucking trolling on the internet. I'm just like, you're pathetic.
Oh, yeah, well, okay, but if you like it, then I suppose do it.
Well, I just want to say, just to tell, I'm not going to discuss what you brought up, but I just put a link in there to the chat to an article on that very dynamic, which may or may not give some insight as to why some gay men sexually pursue straight women. So I just dropped it in there as a link.
Where is it? Where is it, Bridal? Is it down below? Is it in the space tweets?
Yeah.
Or is it up?
Yeah. It should be
It's
down
down.
at the bottom there.
Thank you very much. That's interesting.
I just want to continue on with what I was chatting about, and you can tell me if I've missed anything. So for the basic spaces, so basically I've got a list. basically. So I sort of thought to start off would be, there's a plane going overhead.
That is
the origins of queer theory, obviously, and the likes of John Money and where it kind of started with the Pritzker thing and all this sort of stuff. And then we've got the several subjects that come next. So there's education in schools, the current political issues in different countries, the caste review, Yoga Hard principles, Denton documents, and then and who's who. So podcast, people to read, etc. What we think of that. And then how to engage in real life should really be one, how to make a difference in your own communities and what you do to actually make a difference, particularly in like close conversations. And then also, working in your own communities with government, lobbying, that sort of stuff. And then, of course, there's the medicine science and what the real implications are of these hormonal treatments and surgeries. And WHO and WPATH would be linked in with that, and then detransitioners, is something that I really want to cover. And then also as a separate subject, people with DSDs. So that's what I've got so far. So if anyone can think of things that I've missed, there's a plan forming, but it's taken time. And that sort of idea of I'm fighting out who's who that would be best to speak on these subjects. So any input is really appreciated.